UFC Vegas 40, Aspen Lad versus Norma Dumont. We got back-to-back main event spots with female fighters headlining the cards. This card's a little reminiscent to last week's. We're going to find our spots here to make some money, just like we did last week. We're going to have a couple fights that we're going to be intrigued with, we're going to be looking forward to. And with no further ado, we're going to dive right into this card. Let's go.
The teller.
It's another day, left jab, right jab, this is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim, looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting, if you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go, I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show, this the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, you guys? UFC Vegas 40. As I stated, this card is very reminiscent to the previous card that we just had, UFC Vegas 39. The card is headlined by some women fighters that are really on the verge of breaking into stardom. Maybe last week's a little more so. Obviously, Mackenzie Dern's a little bit of a different animal, but Aspen Lad is a girl that has a lot of potential as well, and Norma is a tough cookie as well. So we got some legends fighting on this card though too. Andrei, Arlovski, Jim Miller, taking on some guys that are trying to make names for themselves in the game right now. The exciting Julian, Marquez, and Jordan Wright, that should be a good one. Andrew Sanchez taking on Bruno Silva. So we do have some exciting spots here, but again, not the most exciting card. Last week, I think I graded the card going into it. I think I graded it a D+, or was it a D-? Gotta run that back. But by the time the card actually was here for us, I actually had it as basically an F for a card, because we had some fights fall out too. It was a tough one. If you really compare last week's card on paper to any of the cards that we get on a regular basis, I think it had to be graded an F. Now this card, I'm gonna grade this card a D+. Almost on the verge of a C-. I think there's some exciting fights here. I mean, you got fights like Danny Roberts and Ramazan, Emeev. Will Danny Roberts be able to make that an exciting fight, or will Ramazan kind of blanket him? Ľudovít, Klein is a guy that's delivered before, and so has Nate Landwehr. So I wouldn't be surprised if we really get some exciting fights on this card. But the name power, we talked about it. Jim Miller, Arlovski, and a couple exciting prospects, but I won't harp on that too much more. We'll be getting into this entire breakdown here very shortly. You guys know the routine. I'm excited to talk about what we did this past weekend. Not even just this past weekend, the past week, because we were attacking plays from Dana White's Contender Series. I'm going to tell you guys all about that as well. Please, guys, if you could, like this video right now. And I want to give a special shout out to each and every single one of you guys, man, that have subscribed to the channel. I now surpassed 4,000 subscribers. It means a lot to me. We'll creep up to that 5,000 subscriber spot now. If you guys could, if you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, man. We'll creep up to the 5K, and we'll work our way up to that 10K. And but I really do appreciate you guys, man. So please hit that like button as well. It helps with the algorithms, they say, and whatnot. We'll get this channel blowing up over here. So much appreciated, guys. Now, UFC Vegas 39. We're going to get right into that. But real quick, we did hit a play in Dana White's Contender Series. It was the Mike Mallet play. It was that main event spot last Tuesday, a week from today as I'm recording this. I was all over that. And, I'll pop that up here real quick for you guys. We got to talk about Tyson Fury, though, as well, huh? But, I hit the Mike Mallet play last Tuesday. I hope all you guys were on that. 3.5 unit play on Mike Mallet at 175. And Mallet's a guy that's a coach over at Team Alpha Male. He's a very talented fighter, and he was taking on that young gun that I didn't feel was going to be on the same level. The fight was finished in seconds, so that's what started the week for us. Okay, now we had 2 official plays on the card, which we're going to be getting to. Let's slide through the card. Steve Garcia takes out Charlie Ontiveros. Charlie actually had some spots early in the fight. Tagged Steve up pretty early and wobbled Steve, almost finished the fight. Steve Garcia showed to be a very, very tough fighter, and ended up getting the takedowns going and whatnot, and then ended up just breaking Charlie. Steve Garcia is a tough dude. Lupita Garinez ends up getting the armbar in the first round over the UFC newcomer Juarez. And I told you guys, Garinez is a talented fighter. The line was high on her, but she's a very talented fighter. Damon Jackson's able to handle Charles Rosa. That was a big fight for Jackson, letting him getting another victory on his resume in the UFC. He wants to be able to solidify himself in the UFC. He's had a lot of fights with different promotions, and I know for a fact he wants to solidify himself as a UFC fighter. You got to win fights like that against a guy in Charles Rosa. Now we kick things off here with some action, man. Alexander Romanov grabbed him early. I actually had him in a parlay with Phil Haas. You guys know that fight fell through, so I had to shake things up. Alexander Romanov, this guy is a beast of a man, but it's not just that, man. This guy really has some technical abilities with his grappling. I'm very, very high on him. The only question mark about him was kind of with his cardio, but if you really understood what happened in his previous fight, he was fighting, a fighter that is very, very high level, in the Spaniard, who has very, very high level wrestling credentials and whatnot. And that fight was two top level fighters that were just grinding against each other, and Romanov kind of faded a little bit in that fight. I think he's cleaning that up, and Jared Vandera is just not on his level there, so he threw that parlay. Now again, when the Haas fight fell through, we had to throw another leg together. I threw Chris Gutierrez in it, and first off, the fact that was a split decision, I thought that was horrible. The other two judges had it 30-27. That's what it should have been, 30-27. The other judge, you still got judges out there, man, that just do not know what they're watching. Chris Gutierrez, a little patient throughout the fight, but you saw he was on a whole nother level with his striking, just picking Caleras apart. Felipe was trying to walk him down a little bit, but Chris was just absolutely picking him apart and countering him. And, even in the third round, Chris gets taken down for a brief moment, ends up getting back to his feet, and then just piecing apart Felipe to end the fight. I was very, very happy with Chris's performance there, and that hit a minus 146 parlay of 5.5 units as we threw Gutierrez and Romanov together there. Now we hop back in the card. How about Maria Agapova? No official action. I had a little something on her for fun. You guys know how it goes, but no official action. I do regret that. You guys know I picked Maria to win the fight there. I told you she was a live dog in this spot against Sabina. Agapova is a very, very tough cookie. And a lot of rumors have been coming out and whatnot. She got kicked out of American Top Team for threatening to stab some male fighters in the gym. She seems to be a loose wire. But, throughout the fight week and whatnot, she did seem to be a chill and composed fighter, so I don't really know what to believe as far as that all goes. Either way, I like those types of fighters when it comes to the female side of things too. Let them be crazy, let them be aggressive. She's really a killer. When she goes in there, she's looking to take you out, and you saw that as she pulled off the nasty rear naked choke in the third round. There were some spots where she got tagged up, and she never lost that killer mindset, and I am a fan of hers. Now, that will take us to the second play, the final play of the card here. Matheus Nicolai to take out Tim Elliott. I was very high on Matheus in this spot here. I hope you guys all attack this play right here, man. Matheus is a guy that is just very technical with his striking. He's very sharp. He's very quick with his striking. I love the leg kicks. I love the head movement, the boxing, all that. It's all coming around. And he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's nasty on the mat. Elliott had some moments where he was trying to close the distance, kind of smother him a little bit there. Nicolai did lose the first round, but you got to love the way he bounced back in the second and third rounds. And that was a solid spot there. Grabbed it at minus 184 units. So that wrapped up the UFC fight card there for me. So again, going into the UFC, finishing the UFC fight card there, we hit 3 plays throughout the week, including Dana White's Contender Series. Absolutely killing it. But hold up, it doesn't end there. We had one more play on the night, which we're going to get to in a second. But now we go with Randy Brown is able to take out Jared Gooden. Does enough. It was a little bit of a shaky fight at times for Randy, but Randy does enough to get that victory there. And then now, mind you this, going into this main event fight, if I would have hit this fight here, which this is hilarious because I had somebody in my comment section on this video, you could pull it up, that was kind of hating when I said that. I literally said that this fight card reminds me of a fight card that I would pick perfectly, that I would call every single fight. I said it. You could run the tape back if you don't believe me. And it came down to this last fight. I would have had a perfect fight card, just as I said when I had a hater start chirping and commenting, you ain't never get no perfect fight cards, which I was crossing my fingers Dern was going to get some takedowns and take this fight here. But of course, that wasn't the case. Marina Rodriguez looked very sharp. Even though she was taken down and beaten up a little bit in the second round, she eventually was able to keep the fight on the feet where she was the superior striker. It was reminiscent to Amanda Ribas versus Mackenzie Dern, where Dern's striking is just not on the level. She could shine against certain fighters, but against real technical, legit stand-up fighters, she's not going to be able to hang with them. It's going to take a long time for her to catch up on that skill set. And you know what? Shame on me for not picking Marina. And the only reason why I didn't pick Marina here was because of the way Ribas took Marina down so easily in that first round when they just fought recently. I thought that Dern would be able to consistently get those takedowns or even just get one and pull off a sub. And I guess she was somewhat close to doing that. Should have stuck with my initial gut, which was Marina Rodriguez, but it's okay. Almost a perfect fight card. We just missed that one fight. And that wrapped up the UFC Vegas 39 fight card, which we were 2 for 2. And we did have one more play, though, on the night, guys. We had a 5-unit play, minus 260 on Tyson Fury. And I even gave this play out for free on my Instagram. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys would have gotten this play for free. You guys could say whatever you want. Oh, anybody could. A lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, of course, Fury was going to win. That wasn't necessarily the case. I saw a lot of people talking about Wilder has the power to finish him. He looks great this time. He put on a lot of weight. The line wasn't that steep. I was able to grab him at minus 260. So I don't want to hear nothing about he was this guaranteed lock. I mean, that's money right there. When you're throwing 5 units on a minus 260, I'll take that all day, especially with how confident I felt in the fight. I felt very, very confident in the fight. And I mean, Tyson Fury gets dropped 2 times, but other than that, I mean, the guy is just made of steel. Gets right back up, and mind you, he had a knockdown before those anyway, but then ended up just breaking Deontay Wilder, man, which I was so happy to see because I'm a giant Tyson Fury fan, and quite honestly, I'm not a Deontay Wilder fan, and I'm surprised there's as many Deontay Wilder fans as there is out there because, and real quick before I say this, man, I hope you guys don't get salty, man. I love you guys out there, but the guy wouldn't even show any respect to Tyson after the fight. He didn't want to, shake hands, show sportsmanship. I think the guy is just a big baby. All the excuses and lies he made after the second fight, I'm not cool with that type of stuff, man. Something just seems off with him, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like a legit dude in my eyes. Doesn't seem like a real one. So that's just how I look at it. I think that Tyson Fury is as real as it gets. The guy's an absolute G. And go follow me on Instagram, making little collages of Tyson Fury and whatnot. I'm just messing around, but I am a diehard Tyson Fury fan. And I think that he's without a doubt the greatest heavyweight boxer of our generation. I mean, Mike Tyson, I was very young as Mike Tyson was as he was the king. I was a young kid, but I mean, actually growing up, watching a good amount of fights, being a little bit older, I got to say Tyson Fury. As Mike Tyson really started to collapse when I was in, middle school. I would say in middle school, he started losing all those fights, losing to guys like Lennox Lewis, and he was at the bottom of his career. But major Mike Tyson fan here as well, but different eras in my opinion. Got the Teller Times posted on Instagram. Go follow me there, MMA Fortune Teller _ and got little comical types of posts coming at you guys, and we're talking about things like this. Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal, the fight is official for UFC 269. What's your thoughts? I mean, it's a great place to conversate. Go follow me on IG. And again, so not basically, for a fact, we go 4 for 4 throughout the week. Okay, 4 for 4, guys. So again, killing it with the official plays. Hope you guys are contemplating reaching out to me, because I'm telling you, man, there's money to be made out here. And or hopefully you guys are doing your thing as well, man. If you guys are doing your thing and you're making money, man, I'm happy for you guys. Hope you're being sharp with your shots there. All right, guys. So let's see, what do we got next over here? I think it's about that time for us to jump into UFC Vegas 40, talk about some fights on the horizon here. Let's get into it. So of course, this fight card is capped off with a women's main event. So what better way to kick things off than with a women's strawweight bout here? Ariane Carnelossi taking on Estela Nunez, the UFC newcomer. Let's start off with talking about Ariane Carnelossi. She comes in and makes her UFC debut against a girl in Angela Hill, a girl that's just at the top of the division who's extremely talented. What a tough way to start your UFC career off. I think that shows the toughness of Carnelossi, just being willing to take a fight like that. And, that was a fight that she lost. That fight ended up getting stopped due to a nasty cut that she got after she got hit with a nasty elbow by Angela Hill coming off the cage there. And she was losing that fight pretty much the entire time. She was on her way to losing a decision regardless. But I think there were some positives to take from that fight as far as on the Ariane side. She had some moments where she was able to walk Angela Hill down and she was able to land some shots even after being tagged a little bit. So she showed some real toughness. You saw some power in her hands. I mean, you saw Angela Hill's head, bopping back a little bit. I think that there's some girls that would will to those types of hits. But more importantly, you got to love the way that she bounced back in her second fight in the UFC. She ends up ripping Na Liang down to the mat, working some nasty ground and pound. She was really ferocious in that fight. So you got to love the development that you're seeing after losing your UFC debut. She's a very hungry fighter. She's extremely tough. She's 13-2 right now as a professional. I think that this is a fighter that really does show to have some promise. And then you got this other fighter, Estela Nunez, who's coming off a long layoff. She hasn't fought in over 3 years. She was fighting over in ONE FC. So, I mean, you got to like that. She's definitely been in there with some top-level competition. Has a loss to Angela Lee. Angela Lee, if you don't know about her, she's a very talented fighter. But Angela Lee, in that fight, was able to get the fight down to the mat whenever she wanted. She actually, had a what do you call that? Like a head toss, like a head and arm drag down to the mat. And the way that she did it looked quite easy, to be honest, man. I didn't like the way that Nunez looked with her takedown defense there. Now, granted, that was 4 years ago. I mean, there could be a lot of development going on with Estela since then. But the way that she looked there, as far as her ground game went, I was not impressed. She really didn't have nothing on the mat either, as far as defensively. And of course, she ended up getting subbed in that fight there. She did bounce back with the victory over Gina Inong over in ONE FC. But again, that was a while ago. There's some big question marks going into this fight with that long layoff. Does seem to be in great shape, though. Does Estela. And, Estela is a girl. Let's check. We don't have a reach here for her, but now just know she's definitely going to have a reach advantage here. And she has shown flashes on the feet with being able to establish some type of boxing at range. There's definitely footage you could pull up in some of her fights where she has some fluid boxing moments where she's landing some combinations at range. That has to be the recipe for her to win this fight. I think that she needs to have a similar game plan than what Angela Hill had. Keep the fight at bay, pepper Carnelossi up from range, maybe try to cut her open like Hill did. Not saying that's going to happen, but just maybe that's the game plan you want to have. As far as Ariane Carnelossi goes, I think that she should look to close the distance, use all these muscles and the wrestling technique that she has, rip her opponent down to the mat, and try to implement the ground and pound like she used in her last fight. I think that's what she needs to do. And in fact, I think that's the most probable way that the fight goes. And that's why I'm going to take Carnelossi to win the fight there. And if she wins it, maybe she'll get a follow from the teller. Of course, I'm just kidding there, but maybe I'm serious. If she wins, maybe I will follow her. But this Soriso, she's a very tough cookie, and I'll take her to win the fight there. As far as the betting line goes, she's right around a minus 160 right now. And I think when people analyze this fight, those are the routes that they see this fight going. Now, keep in mind that Carnelossi, like I said, does have some power in her hands and the feet, though, too. She could definitely land some big shots in the feet as well. So she kind of has multiple elements, in my opinion, to win the fight there. But Nunez, she's been out of the ring, the cage for quite some time. So let's see how evolved she is since her last fight. But Carnelossi to win the fight, that's the pick for me here. Now, speaking of layoffs, Brandon Davis, although he's been active, but he hasn't been fighting in the UFC in quite some time. His last fight in the UFC was 2 years ago, lost to Giga Chikazi, and has since strung off 4 victories in a row, if you didn't know that. Has been fighting outside the UFC. Real quick, let's take a look at the level of competition that he's going out and taking out. 24-11, 24-29 with a losing record is Ray Trujillo. And 4-0 Jonathan Eland. Brad Kelly 5-3, a split decision. I mean, I would hope it would be a little bit more impressive than that. I think the most impressive thing that he's ever done is go to a split decision against a guy in Giga. Keep in mind, Giga was much more green at this point in time when they fought. Giga has jumped leaps and bounds since that fight, okay? The Hyung Ho Kong fight, that's another fight that he's probably should be happy that he went to a split. Was able to make it to the second round with a guy like Zabit. So, I mean, he's been in there with some high-level fighters. The victory over Randy Costa is a good one. Randy's a talented fighter. Now, the loss to Kyle Bochniak, I think that's the biggest black eye on his record here. I am not high on Kyle Bochniak, to be quite honest, man. And to be honest, these fighters actually remind me of each other. Kyle Bochniak and Brandon Davis. They're kind of like, it's like you're going to your friend's house for a nice dinner. You dress up a little nice, and they're just kind of throwing some ground beef and a couple potatoes in the frying pan or something like that, some corned beef and cabbage, but not even on St. Patrick's Day, like throwing corned beef and cabbage together just because it was on sale at Walmart or something, meat and potatoes. And it's okay though, man. Nothing but respect to Brandon Davis. I'm happy that he's getting another opportunity to show what he could do. I know that he's going to be motivated more than ever, getting a second chance in the UFC. That's no joke here. But his opponent, Danaa Batgerel, is coming off 2 victories where he's sleeping these dudes. Knocked out Guido Canetti. Okay. But, taking out a guy like Kevin Natividad, Kevin's a tough dude. Kevin's a guy that's usually laying other guys out. So, Danaa's been looking sharp with his striking. I know he has put in work with Jackson Wink. Not exactly what he has going on right now. But again, man, he looked good in that fight there against Kevin, man. And has been coming in phenomenal shape. Lost his UFC debut against Hali Alateng. That was a close fight. And since then, man, he's got the train back on the track. He's 32 years old, pretty much in the prime of his career, a little bit undersized here. I still like Danaa to win the fight, though, man. I like the striking that he possesses. I think he's sharp on the feet. I think he's quicker to the punch and more technical than a Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis is going to have a little bit of a size advantage here. Brandon's going to have to shake things up here. He's going to have to make this a brawl and an overall mixed martial arts fight, man. He's got to be working the striking into the takedowns. He's got to be pushing Danaa up against the cage. He's got to shake some things up. I don't think he wants to sit there and stand with Danaa for 15 minutes, in my opinion. I think that he'll end up being on the losing end there. So the pick is Danaa Batgerel. He's right around a minus 200 right now from what I'm seeing. If what I would say about that is, let's see here. Let's see what the live line is. Right around minus 200, minus 190. I do feel that minus 200 might be a little steep. I would actually cap this fight more at like minus 170 for Batgerel, quite honestly. Minus 160. So maybe I think the line is possibly a little off. I do think that Brandon Davis is going to be hungry and is potentially live here. But overall, I think Batgerel is the better fighter. I see Batgerel handling business on the feet. And that's going to be my pick, Danaa Batgerel. Taking place in the featherweight division, Ľudovít Klein taking on Nate Landwehr. We'll kick things off with Nate Landwehr. I got a funny betting relationship with this guy, Nate, here. He's came through for me in a couple different ways. First and foremost, I did have him to take out Darren Elkins. That was an official play of mine a year and 4 months ago. Crazy how time flies. So I was happy that he came through for me there. Very bloody fight. I mean, he showed up. I wasn't necessarily overly impressed with him in that performance, though. I thought he could have done more. I thought he really could have put the stamp on that fight when they were trading on the feet. Looked to slow down a little bit with his hands and whatnot. He's a very tough dude. He definitely has some wrestling credentials. He's a tough wrestler. And then let's talk about his last fight. I faded him there. I had an official play on Julian Erosa, and he came through for me there too. Ended up getting finished there. So Nate is a guy, man, nothing but respect, man. This guy comes through for me every time. Will he come through for me again this upcoming Saturday? If I'm taking him or if I'm not fading him or if I'm just staying away, we'll see how that goes. Ľudovít Klein, we'll slide over to Ľudovít. Ľudovít is a guy that, really bursted on the scene. This was a knockout victory that he had against Shane Young. And Shane Young, if you guys know about Shane Young is a nasty striker, first off, fighting from down under over there at City Kickboxing. Shane Young is a guy that's definitely a tough fighter and who has plenty of abilities on the feet. So for Ľudovít to do that, man, people were really, really going nuts at the time. And this guy seemed to be one of the top prospects in the game. But he had a major setback in his last fight. He loses to Mike Trizano. I think that fight more so showed how skilled of a fighter Mike Trizano is personally. I think that Trizano is a very underrated fighter, a guy that we've had the pleasure to have on the show and chat with, an awesome dude. And, Klein's coming back into this fight as a minus 300, so not really skipping a beat there. Still coming in as a favorite. People aren't forgetting about the potential this guy has. Maybe people aren't that high in Nate Landwehr as well. I expect Ľudovít Klein to be much quicker on the feet, more diverse with his striking. He shouldn't have any issues as far as the striking goes. Nate's going to try to play the tough guy role, willing to eat some shots and try to trade and whatnot. That's kind of what Nate's thing is, man. He's going to look to make it a dirty fight. And, coming off a loss, like I said, to Erosa, he had the win against Elkins. Let's not forget, the Herbert Burns fight. He was actually looking decent in the beginning of that fight, but did get damaged and got, he got finished there. He got hurt by Burns. So this is a guy that I do believe, he has the ability to be finished there. I think Ľudovít Klein can hurt him and stop him there early. Got a 1.5 reach advantage for Klein. Nothing really going on there, even though he's a little bit shorter. I'm gonna give Ľudovít Klein another chance here. I'm gonna pick him to win this fight. Again, he kind of got stifled by Trizano, but I don't think that Nate Landwehr is near on the level of a Trizano. I think Trizano is a very technical and underrated fighter. I think that Klein is going to be much quicker than Landwehr here. And I think I do like the fact that he's coming off a loss. This is something that I do like at times, man. I think it makes some fighters very hungry, and I think that Klein is the type of guy that's going to bounce back after a tough, frustrating loss to Trizano. Well, yes, I understand that Landwehr lost to Julian Erosa too, and he'll be very hungry as well. But there's not much you could do when the other guy's just the superior athlete, and he's working you there. I like Ľudovít Klein. The line right now, it was around minus 300. So some of these books are getting hit up too. He's as high as minus 335 right now. And I do like Ľudovít Klein to win the fight. You might see something like this. You might see him celebrating, jumping around. Don't be shocked. And the tough Nate Landwehr, who used to fight, I think he used to fight over in M1 Global, right? He used to fight over in Russia. The tough guy. All right, we'll go over to the flyweight side of things. We got Sijara Eubanks taking on Luana Carolina. The Dread. Both these girls with the same amount of victories at 7. With Sarge having actually 4 more losses. The difference is that Sarge has been growing up inside the octagon, always fighting the best fighters in the world. And I was actually very impressed with the performance that Sarge put on in her last fight against Elise Reed. Absolutely destroyed her in that fight, if you guys remember. And, really, really worked her on the ground. I mean, she had her moments in the feet as well. That to me, even though she's 36 years old, looked to be the best Sarge that we've ever seen. And I don't even care about level of competition as far as Elise Reed. Elise Reed was a girl that some people were high on. I mean, she's a girl that she got her chance in the octagon. She's had flashes outside of the UFC. But the way that Sarge did it was impressive, man. She really put the beat down there. She looked violent. And if you guys remember, man, Elise Reed had a nasty, nasty knot on her face. She was messed up, man. Swollen up. Before that, she loses to Pani Kianzad and Ketlin Vieira. 2 high-level fighters, man. 2 high-level fighters. Pani is an extremely technical striker. She was able to implement her game plan. I don't think that Luana has near the level of striking as a girl like Pani. And Ketlin Vieira is a very tough fighter here. And a very talented fighter. So, Luana Carolina, 28 years old, coming off a victory over Poliana Botella, where she was able to actually kind of exploit Botello's takedown defense and wrestling. If you remember, Carolina got on top a little bit, which was, somewhat surprising because Carolina, I don't know if everybody was really thinking of her as that type of fighter. But she did. She was able to expose her there on the mat, and I don't think that she'll be able to do that to Sarge. I mean, I believe Sarge is a black belt on the mat, with her jiu-jitsu. She's a talented grappler as well. So I don't see that happening there. I give the edge to Sarge there. Dread, I got to give her credit, though, where her credit's due. And I just want to say that, since fighting on the Dana White's Contender Series show, she won that fight. She won her UFC debut against Priscilla Cachoeira. Not really a fighter that's on the level. And then she also beat Poliano. So I mean, she's 3-1 fighting under the UFC brass there. I got to give her credit there. Didn't look good against Ariane Lipski, where she gave her leg up and got knee barred very, very quickly. If you guys remember that wasn't a big fight card. And keep an eye for Sarge to look for something like that. Maybe she gets an early submission. But overall, I got Sarge winning this fight. I think that Sarge will be able to settle in with her striking as well if Luana wants to just, or if Luana is able to keep it there and make it a striking match. I think Sarge could hold her own there, and I give the grappling advantage to Eubanks. I think that Sarge Eubanks is a very talented fighter on the mat. I think she's been putting work there for a long time, and I respect her ground game, and I'm taking Sijara Eubanks to win the fight. She is a pretty hefty favorite, minus 335. You guys know how I feel sometimes about these types of fights. Sarge tends to be in some close fights. It's a woman's fight. Luana's tough. It might end up being a pitter-patter type of fight. We might have some very close rounds there. You might be at the edge of your seat if you throw her in a parlay, so be a little bit careful there. At the end of the day, though, I do believe Eubanks is the better fighter, and she should come through. All right. That's going to take us to Danny Roberts versus Ramazan Emeev. It's funny, this guy, Danny Roberts, I was just recommending, I chatted up with Sasha Palatnikov, UFC fighter, once in a while, really cool dude. And we were just BSing one night with the fights and whatnot. And I was just saying, I thought Danny Roberts and Sasha would have been a great fight. But it looks like Danny Roberts already has another fight here against the very tough Ramazan Emeev. And, Emeev is a guy he's very good at what he does. He's a very polished fighter. 20-4 as a professional, with his only loss coming by way of Anthony Rocco Martin. Whatever happened to Anthony Rocco Martin, Tony Martin? If you guys don't mind, can I check that out real quick? I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I haven't seen him in a while. He's a guy that was, a very sought after prospect for a while there. The resume is solid. Wasn't able to implement that game plan to take out Maya, and then lost to Magny. So that was back in 2020. He hasn't been gone that long. Sorry about that, guys. But after losing that fight, that was a close fight as well. And then he comes back. He takes out Zawada via split and takes out Nicholas Stolz. Not a lot of big names under Ramazan Emeev's resume. But the thing is that when you watch his fights, man, he's just very calm and composed, and I love the fighter IQ. He knows when to do certain things to pull off the fight. He can control you against the cage for good amounts of time of these rounds. He can kind of steal those rounds like that. He has some striking. Of course, he has the grappling. I think a Dagestani. He's fighting out of Dagestan. Yeah, another tough Dagestani fighter. Just one of the boys from over there. I mean, these guys. They know how to grapple, of course, and I think that's going to be his recipe here. I don't think that he's going to want to stand with Roberts and just make this an absolute striking war, because Danny Roberts can thrive in those types of fights. Danny Roberts is a guy, as he bursted on the scene, Danny Roberts was a guy that a lot of people thought was just a technician, that was a real athlete and a technician on the feet, and that could really style on guys. We've seen him go in there and just absolutely put guys out. But he's more than that, man. He's a guy that's actually, he's willing to brawl it out with you. I mean, this guy has crazy heart. I've seen him in some really, really crazy fights. That's why I recommended to Sasha that they would fight, because Sasha's the same type of dude. I think that'd be fireworks all day. But Danny Roberts is a guy that's an all-around warrior. And I think the recipe for Roberts here is he's got to keep Emeev off of him. He's got to be able to make this a fight that takes place more so in the middle and at striking range. And if Roberts could do that, he could be live in this fight. But at the end of the day, I think that Emeev has way more tools to win this fight. The grappling, of course, the distance management, the way he closes the distance, the way he'll get a hold of Roberts and he'll kind of steal rounds like that. And that's why I'm going to pick Ramazan Emeev to win the fight over Danny Roberts. I would love to see Danny show up here. I really would. Danny coming off a fight where he took out Zalim Amadayov. That guy ended up being a flake. If you guys remember Zalim, he had some potential. He was undefeated coming into the UFC, but that guy ended up fading out. He's lost a couple fights. Roberts lost to Michel Pereira, very talented fighter, and lost to Claudio Silva in a good fight where he actually hurt Claudio as well. Before that, took out David Zawada and Oliver Enkamp, the very talented Norwegian fighter who's, I wish he was still in the UFC, but he's not. But, keep in mind, too, Roberts has a nice reach advantage. Is a very, very long reach for the division, almost a 4-inch reach advantage here, 3.5-inch reach advantage for Roberts. You guys know the recipe from the win the fight. I told you what it is. He's got to be able to make this a stand-up fight and use his footwork to keep the distance there. As far as the line goes, Ramazan Emeev seems like he's getting steamed a little bit up into the 260 range at this point. So people are feeling comfortable with him, and it might be a little bit high, but I think at the end of the day that Emeev's going to win this fight. That's going to be my pick, Ramazan Emeev. Hey, you guys, real quick, if you are interested in getting my official plays, I get a lot of messages from you guys at times. I don't know if I make it clear or not, but I do charge for them. If you're interested, I will send you over my pricing. These are the plays that I'm always on here talking about that I hit. All the money that's coming in. These are the official plays, the select plays that I target. It's typically 2 to 5 max on a fight card. You would get those picks the Monday to Tuesday before the Saturday, the event taking place that Saturday. You get my bet write-ups. And if you're interested, do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email is below, MMAfortuneteller@gmail.com. On Instagram, MMAfortuneteller_, shoot me a DM. And I also got my Twitter there. Whatever works for you. But if you want the pricing, I'll send it over to you. I can explain how everything works. I'd love to work with you guys. I've been absolutely killing it as of recently. Absolutely smoking it. So don't hesitate to make yourself some money. I think the pricing is more than reasonable, especially on the return you'll make from the bets. All right, guys? So just keep that in mind. Thanks, guys. Andrew Sanchez taking on Bruno Silva. Two talented fighters in the middleweight division. This is a good matchup here. Bruno Silva has delivered since being signed by the UFC. Took out Wellington Turman in his debut. And coming from M1 Global also. So, this guy's been fighting some decent competition. He's 20-6 as a professional. He showed to have good grappling, a little bit of power in his hands. Both these guys, to me, are actually reminiscent in some ways. They have similar styles to an extent. Not exactly the same. They both share a common opponent, of course, Wellington Turman. Poor Wellington got damaged up by both of these guys pretty bad. Sanchez looked really, really good in that fight, if you guys remember. Just really starched Turman. His hands look good. You saw the evolution of Sanchez's boxing. We already know that Sanchez is a very talented wrestler. Yeah, he has a lot of accolades with his wrestling. I mean, that's definitely his strong suit and his base. But the hands have been coming around. And Bruno Silva is a guy that has been working on his striking as well, and he has more of a jiu-jitsu base. But I think this has the makings to be an exciting fight. Makhmud Muradov was able to finish Sanchez in Sanchez's last fight. Don't get me started on Makhmud after his performance in his last fight, man. Still got nightmares about that. As you guys know, that ruined a big parlay for me as he lost to Gerald in a fight he should have never lost. But so going into this fight, who's going to be able to implement their game plan more so? Is Sanchez going to look to use the wrestling? I don't really think so, actually. To be honest, I think that Sanchez is going to want to keep this fight on the feet. And if anything, maybe he'll use his grappling to kind of push Bruno up against the cage, score some points there. But I don't know if he necessarily needs to or wants to go to the mat. Bruno Silva, a guy that's willing to engage on the feet as well. I don't think that Bruno is going to be looking to play around with the jiu-jitsu too much. If anything, I think maybe he tries to get on top and work some ground and pound. Against Turman, that's exactly what he did. He was able to really brutalize him down there. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that to Sanchez, though, unless he hurts Sanchez and drops him and then gets on top of him like that. I don't necessarily seeing him getting the fight down to the mat. Like I said, Sanchez is a legit wrestler here. I know Sanchez is really hungry for this fight right now. And, there's poor Turman once again getting brutalized. But yeah, man, this was a big UFC debut for him coming in, for Bruno. And Turman was able to actually get a victory in his last fight. So real quick, just talking about Turman so much, shout out to him for getting that victory there. Makes the victory look a little bit better for both of these guys. This is a perfect matchup right here. I've been a little bit back and forth in this fight, but at the end of the day, I'm actually going to side with Andrew Sanchez, the dog here. I like the evolution I've seen from Sanchez's boxing. I know he got caught by Mahmoud, but you know what? I think that he bounces back here. He's a very talented fighter. You know, coming off the Ultimate Fighter a while back, this guy does have some legit skills. And I know he's put at work over at TriStar Gym. I think he's bounced around with a couple big-time gyms. I know he's always getting great work in. He's 33 years old. He's not near over the hump. I think that this is a guy that could still show evolution and still show to be a better fighter every time we see him in there in the meantime. And Bruno Silva, although he won that UFC debut, he looked to be a talented fighter. Need to see a little bit more from him. I like the octagon experience from Andrew Sanchez here. And I'm going to pick the dog, Andrew Sanchez, to win this fight. I think that Andrew could work his boxing game a little bit. And like I said, if he needs to kind of hang on Bruno, maybe push him up against the cage a little bit, try to work some clinch work there, throw some knees, throw some elbows off the break, and make it a dirty fight. Sanchez is a dog, always comes in phenomenal shape. I'm a fan of what he's about. He will be the bigger fighter, too. He'll have an inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage for El Dirte. So let's see if El Dirte can pull something off there. It's a good fight for him. All right, guys, we are now kicking off the main card. Julian Marquez taking on Jordan Wright. An excellent stylistic matchup. Both these guys deliver. This has all the makings to be an epic fight. We're probably going to see some type of wild finish here. Jordan Wright, first and foremost, coming off an amazing fight against Jamie Pickett. That was on that Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira fight card, UFC 262 possibly. It was a big-time fight card. This was an early fight on the card, and they were mean-mugging each other a little bit before, as the fight was about to kick off. They absolutely went at each other, and Jordan Wright ended up getting a crazy, crazy finish on Pickett. What a fun fight to watch. That was a big fight for Jordan. You know, Jordan showed that he really is a sharpshooter. This guy is very accurate with his strikes. The traditional martial artist. This guy will throw spinning heel kicks at you, all types of stuff like that. He doesn't necessarily look to overpower you with the strikes. He's not really throwing bombs that he's putting all his might into. I think he's really a precision striker, and I like him. I really hope that he's able to hang around in the UFC for quite some time. I hope he can establish himself as a legit fighter. You know, he had a tough loss against Joaquin Buckley. Now, keep in mind, in that fight, Buckley was teeing off on him in that fight, and he was standing up there against the cage. So I think that Jordan Wright did show that he has a very tough chin. He's a very durable fighter, even though he did get starched by Anthony Hernandez back in the Contender Series. That was 3 years ago. I think he's evolved from then. I think his defense has got better since then. That was 3 years ago, and that was a victory for Hernandez. Keep in mind, it was overturned due to marijuana, so that's a joke right there. But, you know, he went over to LFA, got a victory, came back to the UFC, got a finish on Ike Villanueva, looked very good in that fight. And then the Buckley fight we talked about. But I am a fan of Jordan Wright's. Julian Marquez is a guy that always is an entertaining fight as well. If you want to see one of the craziest finishes ever, make sure you see the Phil Hawes versus Marquez fight. It was a Dana White's Contender Series fight. That was just an absolute war until Marquez just hit him with that nasty kick at the end when Hawes gassed out and finished him there. Crazy, crazy fight. Marquez has made a living off comebacks in his fights. He's down on the scorecards, and he comes back and he finishes the fight. Did he just do that to Sam Alvey? Was it the Maki Pitolo fight? I mean, I even get them confused. I mean, this guy just comes back and gets the finish at the very end every single time. You know, so at certain times his activity could be a little low, especially towards the beginning of the fight. Then he'll start to have that killer instinct as the fight progresses. Tough wrestler, really throws a lot into his strikes. He's looking to take your head off at times in there. Both these guys, 6'2". Jordan Wright's can have a 5-inch reach advantage. I do like that, especially with his footwork and whatnot. I want to see Jordan Wright keeping this fight at bay. I want to see him using his distance to score points. You know, man, I'll tell you what. I think that Jordan Wright is decently live in this fight. I think if he doesn't get caught and hurt, I could see Jordan Wright outpointing Marquez pretty easily if he's able to implement his game plan. And I mean, he's a sniper of a fighter. He's coming off that big win. I'm going to take the dog here. I'm going to roll with the dog here in Jordan Wright. I think that as long as he doesn't get finished and hurt, I think that he could be the fighter that really sets the pace on the feet, and is going to outland Julian Marquez. We've seen Marquez start slow in so many of these fights. I think if you're banking on him, you're really going to be sitting there, you know, screaming at the TV, telling Marquez, step it up, man, throw some more shots. And maybe he lands that big one, and then he wins the fight. But if he doesn't, I think Wright's going to decision him there. I don't know if Wright is going to take out a guy like Marquez. Marquez is extremely, extremely tough. You could whack Marquez straight up in the face with the bat, and there's a good chance that he's still up on his feet a little bit. If I hit him with the bat, he's going out. But some of you guys, I don't know if you guys have the torque in your swing. There's a couple of you guys that put him out too, but give me a bat, I'm taking Marquez out with a shot. I mean, you know, I'm using that as an analogy, but let's not get it twisted. If I get a clean shot on Marquez's chin, he's going to sleep. But you know, Marquez is extremely durable, without a doubt. 31 years old. I'm taking Wright to win the fight here. He's a plus 165 dog. We'll take a look at the line right now. With money coming in on Marquez. Another X factor too, though. Of course, Marquez does have some legit wrestling. Does Marquez drag right down to the mat and kind of smother him there and work some ground and pound? That's obviously a possibility as well. I'm going to say that Wright uses his footwork and his overall skills that he has to keep this fight standing and win a decision. I think that's a very realistic possibility. Obviously, it may not happen, but I'll pick the dog here. I'll pick the slight dog. And, you know, Jordan Wright is a fun fighter to watch, and we'll see how that fight goes. But I know some of you guys will definitely be in disagreement with me on this and be on Marquez. It is what it is. It's a close fight. I can understand picking Marquez, but if there's a fight where I'm not going to just pick a favorite when I think it's really a lot closer than the line saying, I think that this is the fight there. But it's a tricky one. You know, who's going to implement that game plan or their skill set? All right, now we got a flyweight bout. A fight that was supposed to take place a little bit ago had to be rescheduled. Manon Fiorot taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. I already did a whole breakdown on this fight. I know you guys probably heard it already. I won't go on too much about this fight. I think Manon Fiorot is a very, very talented prospect. I'm very high on her. Her striking is just about as good as it gets in the UFC as far as the women's side of things go. And Mayra Bueno Silva, a very talented fighter as well. You know, she blew it against Montana De La Rosa. I think she had a point taken away, but she won that fight. She hurt Montana. She bloodied her up. She looked very good in that fight. Submitted Mayra Barella before that, and lost to Marianne Moroz. You know, Marianne, the Iron Lady. Okay, a little bit of a sore on the record there. Armbarred Jillian Robertson and won on Contender Series against Mayana Souza. So again, she's definitely a well-rounded fighter, man. Silva is a girl that definitely has submission skills. She's shown a lot of evolution with her striking. She looked very good in that Montana fight. I'm telling you, she bloodied her up, broke her nose. Do I think she's going to be able to hang with Manon on the feet? I don't, though. I think that, yeah, she's skilled there. She's skilled there, but I think that Manon's just a whole different animal there. I got Manon winning this fight. I think that if Manon can keep this fight on the feet, she can really flash there. It'll be interesting, though. This is a level step up in competition for Fiorot. But at the end of the day, I'm on Silva. Excuse me, I'm on Fiorot. I'm on Fiorot to take out Silva. But I do think that Silva's a legit threat, and I'm very, very intrigued to see how Manon performs with this step up in competition. And I have a feeling that Manon's just like, she's going to be one of those fighters, man. She's going to be one of those fighters that is just that's going to burst onto the scene and end up being a girl that might potentially be fighting for a belt down the line. An amazing athlete, you know, a fighter that is just nasty with the striking, man. And if she's able to keep her fights on the feet, good luck for the women that are going to be sitting there striking with her. But again, Mayra is a girl that's been showing evolution there. And, you know, she's a girl that's been showing evolution, and we'll see how she fares against a girl in Manon that's almost basically a world-class striker. So, excuse me, guys. The phone is blowing up over here. People, they're disrupting these breakdown videos, man. But it's clear, man. Manon Fiorot is the pick. That was my pick last time. Now, the betting line. Manon Fiorot, she's been getting steamed a little bit. Minus 230. I think she opened up around minus 200 on some books. And she was around minus 185 over on BetMGM at one point in time. So, see what line you can get if you like Manon. Maybe some of you guys see some value on Bueno. I'm curious who's taking Bueno here. But I'm on Fiorot. I like Manon Fiorot. Like I said, this girl has just been looking good, man. We saw her work Tabitha Ricci and work Victoria Leonardo. And she's been handling business even outside the UFC before she got signed. So excited to see how she looks in this spot. And look who we got stepping back in the octagon. The legend, Jimbo Miller, taking on Erick Gonzalez. This is not a new type of fight for Jim Miller. We've seen young guys, come in and try to take out the veteran here in Jim Miller, and they've fallen short time and time again. Roosevelt Roberts, Jason Gonzalez. I think he fought Alex White back in the day as well. I mean, a lot of guys like that, and they've came up short, and this fight kind of reminds me of that type of fight here. This guy, Erick Gonzalez, a young, exciting fighter, goes by the nickname the Ghost Pepper. Gotta love that. I think that nickname is a good one for him. It kind of resembles his fighting style. He's an exciting fighter. I enjoyed breaking down tape on him. This was a good fight here against Rafa Garcia, a UFC fighter, so you kind of got a good gauge of his skill set. He's very aggressive, but as you see, even in this shot here, man, his striking, his technique was not on the level. He really reaches with his striking. He leaves his chin up there. By no means does he have tight boxing. It's not really technical. He's a guy that's just going to be willing to sling some shots on you, though, and try to take you out. A very aggressive fighter. He's fun to watch. His ground game, it's okay. I don't think by any means will it be on the level of a guy of Jim Miller, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I saw Erick Gonzalez get in trouble on the mat in a couple of his fights, almost get subbed. And some of those positions he was in, I do believe Jim Miller would have finished the fight in those certain spots. So keep in mind that Miller is very live to get a submission here. I do believe that. You guys know how Miller is with his grappling to this day. Very, very opportunistic. Don't forget, man, Jim Miller has a sub over the greatest MMA submission artist of all time in Charles Oliveira. Remember that. I think, what did he pull off? The knee bar? I think he pulled off a knee bar in Oliveira. Might be, excuse me if I'm wrong in that, but I think it was a knee bar, some type of leg submission. But Miller is just a guy that is just amazing on the mat. I love his toughness. His striking works for him, man. He has that technical southpaw type of style. It really does work for him, and it gives certain guys trouble. I think that Miller will be more technical on the feet here, more technical on the mat. I think he's the better fighter everywhere this fight goes. Maybe the only things going against him here, of course, is that the age differential. Miller is definitely on the decline, without a doubt, at 38 years old in the lightweight division. Then you got a guy that's creeping into his prime. I understand all that. Miller's going to be the smaller guy as well, but again, nothing new. Kind of reminiscent to that Jason Gonzalez fight. You guys know I'm rolling with Jimbo here, man. I got Jim Miller with all that experience, all that octagon experience. This is a guy that's just, when he's in there, it's going to be basically a sparring match for him. He's going to be chilling. There's no nerves going on, nothing like that. And Jim Miller is a great follow on Instagram, by the way, too, man. He's a funny dude, and he's always sitting here chirping. But gotta go with Jimbo Miller, man. Do you remember when Jim Miller was just a top lightweight fighter for so long? He went in there, he took out everybody that he fought, besides maybe the premium fighters. If you weren't a premium lightweight fighter, Jim Miller was taking you out. When we go back to the days of him, look at this, taking out guys like, we'll run through this, just for fun, just throwing some of these names out there. Remember Bart? I forgot how to say his last name. Palazeski. I remember him. He used to fight in WEC, a talented fighter. Matt Wyman took him out. Matt Danzig, Dwayne Ludwig, Gleason Tabau, Mark Bocek. Remember the talented jiu-jitsu Canadian fighter. Charles Oliveira was a knee bar. Kamal Shalarus, another WEC fighter, tough Iranian wrestler. Melvin Gillard, when Gillard was a legit threat. Gillard just had a fight this past weekend, didn't he? I didn't even see the results from that over in BKFC. Joe Lozon, Yancy Moderos, the Pat Healy fight. I think that I forget exactly how that one played out. But again, Danny Castillo, Takanori Gomi, Joe Lozon again, Thiago Alves, Alex White, Gonzalez. We talked about these fights. Guida. I mean, he's gone in there, man, and taken out all these guys. And look at the guys that he's lost to. Benson Henderson, Nate Diaz, Cerrone, Dariush, Chiesa, Sanchez. That was the only one that, wasn't the best look, but that was in 2016. That was a different Sanchez. Poirier, Pettis, Hooker, Charles Oliveira in the rematch. Okay, I mean, you see what I'm saying, man? The losses that he's taken are against top level fighters. Miller delivers, man. I'm on Miller here. I think that Miller is going to sun the UFC newcomer here. I really hope that he does. And, the only X factor, again, is the age. At what point in time does the car just start to give out? What time is that, does that engine just shut off and it's just kind of unrepairable at that time. If he loses to Erick Gonzalez, we very well could be seeing the very last moments of Jim Miller's career. Maybe he has one more fight after this, maybe. But at that age, you don't want to lose to a guy like Erick Gonzalez. Gonzalez coming off 2 victories there. Lost to Humberto Bandenet. And Gonzalez has some legit fights on his resume. He's fought some UFC caliber fighters. He's been mixed up with some guys like that. So he has some experience there as well, but not near the experience that Jim Miller has. I'm on Jim Miller to win the fight, and that's going to be my pick. Now, as far as the betting line goes, Jim Miller, right around a 2-1 favorite, creeping up in some books. So people respecting the legend that Jim Miller is and the experience there. So from one legend to another legend, Carlos Felipe, a Brazilian fighter that has just bursted on the scene, and I think he's definitely at legend status at this point. Taking on the crafty Andrei Arlovski. You guys know I'm messing with you, man. Carlos Felipe, I'm a big fan of his, but of course the legend Andrei Arlovski, this guy, a former UFC heavyweight champion, a guy that has had ups and downs in his career, but always went back to the drawing board, figured things out. There was a moment in time where he really couldn't survive in his fights, man. He was getting slept. He had some issues with the chin. He changed up his style, and it really worked for him, man. He's went out there and he's outpointed a lot of fighters. He's a crafty fighter. At this day and age, man, he's a guy that's really not in there willing to exchange with you. That's not what he's about at all. He's in there to use his footwork and try to kind of outpoint you and win a decision, which is a smart idea from him, because you know what? When he actually goes in there and really engages, he still gets clipped a lot and he gets hurt. The Aspinall fight, we saw what Aspinall did to him, even though you guys know I'm very, very high on Aspinall. But Aspinall, when you close the distance and you make it a real fight, you can finish Arlovski, man. And that's what Felipe is going to have to do here. Felipe is a guy that's going to be in your face, working his boxing game. He's definitely a boxing fighter first and foremost. That's his strength. It's his hands. This guy wants to be trading with you, making it a war. He's extremely tough. This was his last fight where he fought Jake Collier, which I disagree with the split decision. I thought he should have won that unanimously. He showed to have a lot of heart, looked good, landed the more crisp, stronger shots on the feet. But you know what? Shout out to Collier too for making that an entertaining fight and having his moments. If Felipe can close the distance here, keep this fight on the feet, and make this a nasty fight, I don't think that Arlovski is going to be able to take the damage for 15 minutes. I think that Felipe could have the potential to break him down here and get a finish. Obviously, the recipe for Arlovski, use that footwork, go in and out, score a couple points, move around. And Arlovski is still very accurate with his boxing. He lands those shots, man. He really does land those shots. We saw him take out Chase Sherman recently. The Tanner Bozier victory, that was a big one for him, man. Tanner is back on pace, winning his fights after that. And if Tanner didn't lose that fight, his stock would even be higher. And Arlovski stifled him in that fight. He has that type of potential. Only he's lost to Rosenstruck and Aspinall within the last 5 fights. Those are big-time fighters. But guess what, guys? I'm going with the younger fighter here. I'm going with Felipe. You guys know I've been riding with him since the beginning, and he's been delivering, taking out Yorgan De Castro, Justin Tafa, Jake Collier. I think this is a step up in competition, even though Arlovski's 42, about to be 43. I still say it's a step up in competition. Arlovski is extremely crafty in there. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. He's the taller fighter, great footwork. But I think that Felipe makes this a dirty fight. And I think he lands some shots that Arlovski's not going to like, and I think it's going to kind of hurt him there. And maybe he gets the finish, or it just looks good for the judges' scorecards, just really landing those big shots. And Felipe has looked better and better every time we've seen him in there. He's even looked a little lighter at times. Hopefully he's coming in looking in shape here. He's going to need to be in good shape, and he's going to need to use his footwork to close that distance and really use his striking game there. I like Felipe to win the fight. Now this fight, it's a pick'em, so get it how you live it, man. Whoever you want to win this fight, man, you can grab him at a great line. If you're feeling more confident on Arlovski, you can grab him. Or if you like Felipe, I mean, it's your choice here. I like Felipe, and that's the route I'm going. Hey, you guys, I'll make this short and sweet. If you're looking for a new sportsbook, Bovada.lv is the sportsbook you guys want to use. In my honest opinion, it is by far the best online sportsbook out there at the moment. And I will send you guys over my referral code if you reach out to me. We'll both get a little bonus, and I will help you figure anything out. If you're new to the online sports betting world, I will show you how it all works. If you guys already know the routine and you want to get a nice little sign-up bonus and have a legit sportsbook website, Bovada.lv is the website to use. I've been using them from way back in the day, almost over a decade at this point. So Bovada.lv is legit. If you're interested, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM. I will show you how it all works, or we'll figure out what we need to do to get you guys going. All right, guys? We've made it to the main event. Norma Dumont taking on Aspen Ladd. Obviously, this fight was only just recently put together. Aspen Ladd was supposed to fight Macy Chason. Not a fan of Macy's. Macy refused to take the fight, even though Ladd came in 1 pound heavier. Refused to take the fight there. I don't like Macy. I cannot wait to see her get worked in her next fight. I think that she has kind of a stank attitude, to be quite honest. But I love Aspen Ladd. I think Aspen Ladd is a sweetheart. I think she's extremely tough and has an amazing amount of potential at only 26 years old. I love the way she works her ground and pound. She gets on top of these fighters and smashes them out. I love the way she's screaming as she's doing it. Looks great for the judges. Looks great when you're trying to stop the fight as well. The referees maybe jump in a little bit quicker. Aspen Ladd has shown flashes on the feet. Definitely a technical fighter. She's tight with her boxing. You know, I like the way she keeps her elbows in. She keeps her guard up. Yeah, she did get slept by Germaine de Randamie. Germaine de Randamie is a world-class striker. Give Aspen Ladd a break there. I mean, she's just a young girl, you know, learning the game right now. That's great experience for her. Bounces back with a knockout victory over Yana Kunitskaya, who's a very talented fighter. And Aspen Ladd is a well-rounded, put-together machine. She's a solid fighter. Norma, I'm high in her too. I like Norma. Norma came through against Felicia in that last fight. It was a split decision. A little bit of a lackluster performance, a little bit boring towards the end of that fight, but Norma did what she had to do. Took out Ashley Evans Smith before that, looked good there. Lost to Megan Anderson in her UFC debut. Not necessarily the best looked, but has looked to evolved a little bit since that fight. And only 31 years old. She's a big girl. Both of these girls are thick. What's that little meme they say, right? He thick. I don't. I'm not that good at doing that type of stuff, but there was like a little meme, right? I think it's like a viral YouTube video. He thick, boy, he thick. These girls are thick, okay? Both of them, man. They got solid legs under them. They usually like to use them, man. They'll sneak in takedowns. They'll get on top of you. They'll use their weight to wear you out and work some ground and pound. I think that they're very similar in that aspect. So it should make out to be an interesting fight. I really think this makes out to be an interesting fight. I think Aspen Ladd is the sharper boxer. I think Aspen Ladd is the tougher fighter. I think she's an absolute warrior. I think that she's the type of girl, you land a couple shots in her, man, she's going to be coming right back in your face. She has excellent cardio. You guys know she's always doing her hiking things with her dogs and whatnot, you know, up there in the hills and the mountains. And keep in mind, the only reason why she missed weight, she said she was on her period and messed up with her weight cut and whatnot. So don't be too hard on her there. There's a reason why the UFC gave her a main event spot after missing weight. She explained what the situation was, and Macy should have took the fight. You know, Macy, man, she didn't want to participate in that fight from the beginning. She was saying, why is Aspen Ladd picking on me? Why did she pick me? She's ranked above me. I can't stand the energy she brings, and I can't wait to see. I hope she gets locked in there with the Ladd down the line. Aspen Ladd, though, man, such a cool girl. Of course, she had the knee operation. She did have that going on with her legs. So always be wary of something like that. Hopefully the knee doesn't give out. I don't want to jinx her there, but because Lad will look to really get a hold of her opponent and really rip them down, man. She puts a lot of pressure on her legs, so hopefully her legs are under her, because these girls are going to be locked up, and I think that there's going to be some pivotal moments where one of these fighters is going to be able to get on top of the other one, man. They're going to be, fighting for that position to throw a nice little throw takedown. I think Aspen Ladd will be the girl that ends up getting it. I really want to see her work that ground and pound. I love seeing her on top and flattening her opponents out and smashing them. She has that killer instinct. Norma, to me, seems to be a very talented fighter, but seems to be a little bit more willing to go to a boring decision, in my opinion. I think that Ladd has more of a killer instinct, in my opinion, and we'll see how it goes, though. Norma is a talented fighter. I like Aspen Ladd to win this fight. Aspen Ladd's right around that minus 135 to minus 150 range. I understand it. Dumont has looked good as of recently. She's a well-rounded fighter, and I think she has the potential to give Ladd some issues here. But at the end of the day, I like Ladd. I think that she shows, like I said, to have way more potential. I like Aspen Ladd to win this big main event spot here. And the UFC likes her too, man. They've been giving her main event spots. They're trying to groom her to be a big name in the game, and I think that she has that type of potential. And getting this victory here, if she can get a finish, it'll be really, really big for her. I'm hoping that's what she does. And I got Aspen Ladd to win the main event. All right, guys, that's going to close out the show. Keep in mind, Dana White's Contender Series taking place tonight. And other than that, chill on the fast food. Try to cut that fast food out, man. That stuff's poison, and you don't even know what's going on in the back when those people are making, your Taco Bell, your McDonald's, your Burger King. I've heard stories back in the day, man, and you don't even want to know what goes on back there. Don't eat that stuff. Go prepare something fresh and cut all that poison out. All right, guys? Enjoy Dana White's Contender Series tonight. You'll be seeing much more from me throughout the week. Always catch me on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _, Twitter, The MMA Teller, and of course here at YouTube, man. We now got 4,000 subscribers. Thank you guys again. Let's hit that 5,000 mark. I appreciate you guys so much. And what else can we do but signing out? Teller.
The MMA Fortune Teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller.